Okay, all the meetings are ordered. Let's start with the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. For the roll call, all are here and in attendance. We'll go ahead and move to the consent
Make sure your
agenda,
mics are on, please.
and then we'll start with our special recognition right after that. Entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay. As promised, we will introduce our special recognition guests for the evening. I believe Julie is sick. Do we have, you're going to take over?
Yes.
Okay. We'll have Kat go ahead and introduce them.
Thank you. Could we have Nicole Welling and Sarah Larison please stand? Thank you. So tonight we're honored to recognize these two individuals of our staff for their heroic actions in a recent incident. And I will read ahead what is a proposed request for council action from our city manager, Will Worthy's administration staff toward these individuals being awarded the Hometown Hero Award. It is recommended that the 6 individuals who saved Robert Bass's life, including Ed Hatch, Sarah Larison, Jacqueline Hanley, Nicole Llewellyn, Sarah Pickell, and Rachel Lane, receive the honor of the City of Newburgh's Hometown Hero Award. On February 27th, at Crater Elementary School, the actions of these 6 heroic Newburgh community members, including 2 of our CPRD staff, saved the life of the very loved Newburgh citizen Robert Bass. Each member of this group, in a series of unlikely coincidences, happened to be at the school at the same time. They worked hard, fast, and in sync with one another and gave this man what was said by hospital staff, the best case scenario. We would like to bring recognition to their actions and awareness of AED locations and CPR AED heart saver training. So at this time, we give you Sarah and Nicole, and we will give you the mic if you'd like to say a few words.
We don't really want to say anything. We're in the right place at the right time, and we had a crew and the right equipment, and we had other wonderful citizens, and like the paper said, or that the city council person said, we worked in sync. We all did what needed to be done together, and it was a really cool thing to be a part of, and Nicole and I are honored. We're CPRD staff members, and so it was just a really cool thing to be a participant.
That's great.
I'd like to add to that, though. Both of you folks, as I walk through the community, have been, highly praised for what you've done in the sports department and at the senior center. So I know I can speak for this board for sure that we really appreciate all that you do for the community, and this is just amazing what you folks did and the folks that helped you. So we appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, we'll move along with our public participation section. We do have Nick Conan to give a little update on the Pickleball Advisory Committee, and then after that, we'll go through our list of signees.
Yeah, is this going to be close enough to pick everything. My name is Nick Coden with the Pickleball Advisory Committee. Just wanted to follow up on last month's request for us to do a little research on some existing pickleball facilities that fit the descriptors that we've all kind of discussed here. Unfortunately, didn't find anything groundbreaking on a multi-court facility in a pole barn style building. There's a few locally here who have 1 or 2 courts on a 3-sided pole barn style building, but nothing to the size dimensions we're looking for. So in your board packet, I basically put our findings. Like I said, nothing groundbreaking, but there are a couple local companies who do customizable pole barns, one of which, Lock Buildings. They have a really cool feature online where you can basically design what you're looking for to the exact specifications. The other thing that's in there, I totally understand why we want to go with the pole barn style, but one of our board members is closely connected with someone who owns a company who manufactures sports coverings, similar sort of facilities, and he'd be happy to chat with any of you guys if you'd like to talk. And lastly, if there's anything else you would like to, like the Pickleball Advisory Committee to be looking into or anything like that, we're more than happy to help. And then finally, this spring, Newburgh Pickleball Club is hosting some free intro to pickleball beginner clinics, and I'd like to personally invite any of you guys who'd like to come out or any of your family members and learn a little bit more about the sport. You can find all the information on CPRD's website.
Now, do you guys allow tennis players, or is...
We do, yes, of course. I myself am a tennis player, Matt, so I'm trying to be a mediator. Yeah.
Now, when you said, you mentioned other sports coverings, is that pretty much the bubble type situation?
So it's an aluminum structure, and they're very customizable. It's a soft shell top or a hard shell top, and the siding's customizable as well. We didn't dig too deep into it just because we talked a lot about the pole barn style, and I totally get that. But if anyone wanted to have a conversation, we could get you that contact information.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Yep.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Go ahead and begin with our list here. First, we have Bob Travers.
Okay, should I go up there?
Yeah, if you can get within distance of that mic, that always helps.
Actually move that mic up. Okay. It doesn't go any further. I'll yell. All right, brief history so you know why I'm here. The Chehalem, we're not keeping, oh darn. Okay, faster. Chehalem Glens Advisory Committee resigned due to a lack of board of directors accepting our recommendations, period. The decision to begin petitioning started immediately thereafter. In front of you is a current list of signatures accumulated through this petition, urging CPRD to begin the process of building the promised clubhouse. In the beginning, the petition, there were only 7 of us. Currently, there's 347 individuals that have signed this petition, and growing each day between 5 and 10 people. Please take a look at that if you don't mind, and see if you see anybody there that you might like. There might be even friends and family who signed this. These are your constituents. Some of those even assisted you in getting this position on the board. I bring this up because we are now many voices. The promise of the superintendent made over 15 years ago to build a beautiful clubhouse has now reached a critical point that most of us will not tolerate any longer this procrastination. It was recently brought up that the $5 surcharge to every golfer, which started back in July, has now reached $60,000, give or take, that we are told was going to go towards the development of the clubhouse. This was explained to us early on in the beginning of the advisory committee by one who was part of the committee initially. It was also brought up that there is a CPRD slush fund, or a rainy day fund, of over $13 million that can be used for any purpose you so choose. Are you laughing at the reason? Is this wrong? Is this false?
That's false.
Yeah, I'd love to know what the true amount is that you have. And, because I'm getting different views from that, from other people.
We'll be glad to give you our last audit and the up-to-date audit. We're audited every year.
So you're saying you have no slush fund of any amount whatsoever?
That's correct. We have ending balances.
Is that
But
anything
that's
close
not-
to a slush fund?
That's not a slush fund.
So you don't have $13 million floating around here?
No.
Okay. All right, so, may I continue?
Yes.
Okay, it was also, let me see. Okay, we recommend that the board make a motion, again, like we did last month, to start the process of building the new clubhouse immediately, using the surcharge fund. Is this correct, by the way? The surcharge fund of approximately $60,000?
I haven't checked it recently. That seems logical.
Okay, I got that from a reliable source. Okay, that's good. So we can use that money, hopefully, to start the process, which would be the blueprints and the schematics. And I believe Tom is going to be talking about that technical side of it.
If you
Hopefully
could try to wrap up, we're
Yeah,
a little bit.
well, we're kind of short here, if you don't mind. It'll be about 15 seconds, 20 seconds. So let me ask the board, what holds you back from making a decision to put this motion in front of the board? It's an easy question. Have you been instructed to be silent on this? And if so, who was instructing you to do that? Board of Directors, it is up to you to get this process moving forward. You should not turn to the superintendent any longer due to the history that he has shown that this clubhouse is not one of his priorities as a superintendent. So, will you ask for the motion, please?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Steve Paulson.
Can I ask if the clock doesn't start until I hand out the visual aid I have?
Sure.
Thanks, Steve.
Sure.
Ready?
Yep.
So as you can see, this sign that's in front of you, can you read what that says, Jason,
It
please?
says future site of Chehalem Glen Golf Course Clubhouse. Thank you for your support.
Right. So that was sent to me. I was traveling in Medford for work a couple weeks ago. It was sent to me and my mind was blown. I've kind of resigned myself to the fact I don't expect a clubhouse to get built based on the research I've done. That doesn't mean I'm going to stop at giving up hope at trying to get the community to realize that we need to improve our existing facilities and maybe make a plan instead of acquiring and accumulating new properties and structures that we actually maintain and upgrade and update what we currently have. That said, since I last spoke in the last meeting, so these signs have popped up as one of our local community members, when I sent this around to my circle, he said, Steve, they should really put a sign underneath those that says in 40 years, right? As a LOL. 40 years, this will be built, right? It seems that would give the community false hope because, as Bob so eloquently stated, we've been charging every golfer every round $5 surcharge. Don Loving helped put this, our former board member helped put that in motion. At the time, it's on YouTube, that was specifically for the clubhouse fund. So there's no sign in the clubhouse, the existing clubhouse, that says this could be coming, yet there's signage out on the property giving people hope that there could be a property. So I've just decided I'm not going to get upset about this anymore because I don't believe it'll ever happen. But if it does, I'll be there to help support it. But in the meantime, again, Don, we have people, these employees that, unprovoked come to us asking for help. Steve, we heard this. Steve, we saw this. The latest thing that happened was an employee, a staff member, came to me, said, Steve, hey, Jim McMasters came by and was doing a little bit of a research project,
asking about a permanent clubhouse. What do people think about this? Jim's been around here for over 40 years, working with the Parks and Rec, and the staff member said we need a permanent facility. And the quote that was told to me from the employee was, from Jim, you can correct me if I'm wrong, this is what I was told, was that, quote, we spent a lot of money on this property. You should be thankful to have what you have in the form of the triple wide. You should be lucky that it's there. You should be thankful.
I don't remember saying that, but thank you.
That's what I was told. So with that, again, what are we doing? We're putting signage up, permanent signage up out there, promising the future, thanking you for your support, and we don't even maintain what we have up to current standards. So please, take a look at the sign. Go out there. It's a beautiful sign. I think whoever put it up there, thank you. But by all means, figure out where this money is. Put a sign up in the clubhouse and train the employees to say, hey, see this sign out there? Let's get people excited if it's really going to happen. If it's not, then don't give people false hope. That's all.
Thank you. Next we have Tom Sheridan.
So I'm gonna, follow along those lines, but I'm coming from more the construction side and understanding how, these, projects get going. And the one thing that we need to get out there is we need an RFP for the design of the clubhouse. We need to get a schematic design going so we can mass it, and get an estimate of what this is going to cost. The RFP doesn't cost the district anything, right? So let's get a price to what that is to move forward or potentially move forward with, building clubhouse. If we're serious about doing this, then that's the first step. So I'm asking the board to approve putting out an RFP, which doesn't cost the district anything. You go out, Michael Bond, Anchor Moisen, architects. He gave us the design, overall design drawings, and that was free of charge. Not anything, you didn't charge district anything. It's, great looking design, but we need to take it to the next step, which is schematic designs. Again, massing, so we can price it, understand what that's going to cost, and then determine from there how we want to proceed forward. So I'm asking the board to put out an RFP for, design of the clubhouse. Anchor Moisen will definitely put in a number for that. Michael and his team. If any, don't know if anybody else is going to. Don't know. But let's put it out there, see what we get back, and go from there. We need to take the first step, like I said, with the RFP, and then we can move forward from there.
So the thing is,
Well,
yeah,
we're not going to do any back and forth during the public participation section. So,
Can you just speak what he was going to say?
do you have anything else you'd like to add?
No.
we'll get there.
Yeah. I mean, can you guys put a motion forward?
Okay.
I mean, that's what I'm asking for. Can you or not?
We
I mean,
will be talking about this in a little bit later.
Okay.
Today?
Yeah,
Tonight?
today.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. That wraps it up for citizen input. Unless, did anyone else have one? Well, this got taken. Anything? Okay. So, well, I'm going to go ahead and ask staff to put this, the clubhouse and the third 9 as a discussion item in our regularly scheduled April meeting. That will be after our budget, which I think is important for us to go through the budget and the debt service and the other things that we had discussed in prior meetings. And we can have some more time to discuss this formally. Okay. Moving on to action items. Our first item tonight is the Rennie Field grant application. I know that was attached, and will you be sharing some background on that tonight, or is that Casey?
That's for me.
Okay.
We know the construction of the Rennie Fields and the things that we're gonna provide down there are gonna cost more than 1.5 million.
Okay.
So we're asking your.
Easy, Mike.
Your approval to pass the resolution that allows us to apply for the large grant through the state parks, or not state parks, Oregon Parks and Rec.
Okay.
It is a match grant. We can use the grant that the school district received for a match, or we can use our own SDCs that we're applying towards that facility for a match.
Okay.
That would get us to where we felt comfortable with the field development, and we were not sure about the road costs at this point. But there are urban renewal funds that we could ask the city for in that regard. So we're just asking that you pass the resolution to apply for the grant.
Okay, so it's just resolution to apply for grant, and the difference in the cost, is this due to any changes from our original design, or is it inflation?
Inflation.
Just the cost? Okay.
We originally started this process in April of '22,
Yeah,
and it's 2 years later already, so.
right. Yeah, go ahead.
So, did we already pass, we didn't pass the contract, did we, with the,
Yes.
with the school district? We did.
That's
pass it?
coming up, I think.
We haven't passed it though yet, right? And so I guess on the same thought, I think we all have it in our heads that we approved to use district funds of up to $750,000
Correct.
for this. And you're looking for additional money to do more. When I read that contract, though, it says that basically we are responsible for any and all overages. And so what are we, I mean, are we approving an open checkbook on this?
It sounds like you're just asking for us to give you the ability to apply for more grants to fill in the gap
Correct.
right
And
now.
Yes.
So
And
if that fails, that might be something at a later date where they're going to request more money.
Correct.
Right, but the contract, well, I guess we gotta get there, but I
Right.
mean, it's kind of.
The agreement with the school district was approved by the school district board on, I believe it was the 12th of this month. And Stephen Phillips signed it, and then Don signed it. And so the agreement is done, but you guys need to approve that agreement. And then we can, we're going to apply for some more money.
But the agreement as it is right now, that basically says we are responsible for any and all, right?
Yep.
So, okay.
Yep. Any other discussion?
Yeah, I think that, we haven't seen what the city is going to require, so thus we don't know the total cost of this project in reality.
We had a
I know you had a pre-app
but
meeting,
it doesn't give you costs for what
but
the
we don't
development is.
know the full scale yet, so it's going to be, that grant will help because I know that getting into the infrastructure costs are pretty spendy, and so I don't know, I think the district will probably have to put in money outside of that grant when it comes down to it in the long run, because that's going to be an expensive project.
Is there any agreement that the school district is gonna put more money into this?
Not written, and I'm not gonna say any more than that.
When do we find out about this grant that you want to apply for?
We're supposed to have that into the parks Monday by 5 p.m.
And then when do we find out?
I'm really not sure on that, June, July,
No, you won't have
September.
official on that until late August probably. And you won't be able to start the project until,
Till we get authorization that we receive the grant, or it's kind of late in the year to get started on it anyway.
Yeah.
So we're gonna assume that it'll be somewhere, summer of '25 before we get that field built,
Built or started?
completed.
and I'm gonna have to recuse myself from the discussion on this grant because I'm on the committee for the state of Oregon to approve the grants throughout Oregon. And so if you apply to this, I'll recuse myself there also. So if it comes down to you folks approving this grant, I'm just going to recuse myself.
So is there two things that we're discussing now, or we
Right
already-
now, what's
Just
being
one.
presented is only giving him the authority to apply for the grant.
The resolution that was in your packet.
Is that coming up next? Or
No, that's what you're approving now.
So that's
Is
just,
the
The
resolution.
resolution for the grant, right. Not the adoption of the agreement. Right.
so where is on here the adoption of the agreement? On the
We've
agenda.
you actually already approved that.
Did we approve that at the last meeting? I didn't.
Yeah, we sent it over
Yes.
to the school board and then they approved it. So is there any other vote that we need to do? Okay, so there isn't.
Not on
Okay.
the adoption.
Not
of
on the adoption.
agreement.
The IGA has been
I
done,
thought-
yeah.
So basically what you're asking right now is that the staff go ahead and apply for a grant for this project. Is that right?
Correct.
And that's what they're asking. So we've done that type of grant for 4 or 5 different projects in Newburgh in the past. Mainly parks,
12, I think, Jim.
yeah. Whether it's land and water conservation or it's our PRD neighborhood grants, one of the two.
So motion to apply for grant, is that what the next step is?
Yep.
Motion to apply for grant.
Second it.
Okay, motion is made and seconded. And to clarify, it's to approve the Rennie Field grant application, which is attached in our packet. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Oh, abstain.
And then note Jim's abstention. Okay.
You can put a motion forward to put in an RFP for the clubhouse?
We are on the agenda for discussion of Third Nine and
April.
Clubhouse for April.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay. Discussion of accepting and or purchasing land from Yamhill County.
Yeah, I did not get anything from the county. I sent the letter. I've yet to hear anything.
Who do you need to call?
Well, what I'll do is after this meeting, before the April meeting, I'll call the county manager and see where it's at. If you guys could make your contacts with the county commission, it would help just to see where it's at.
And just to clarify, that's on 2 pieces of property, the Crabtree and then the Riverfront landfill.
That's correct. As it stands now, we lease Crabtree Park. We've leased Crabtree Park for the last 50 years, ever since the
1968.
district was formed in '68. We've applied for several grants and developed it and done it, but the county actually owned the park. We maintained it, ran it, and we got into a problem, as the board is aware, with the culvert that goes. So we've been working on that. The county didn't have the funds to do it. So we said, well, we'll be glad to do it, but just turn the land over to us and we'll go ahead and get it done. So they kind of tentatively agreed to that. Then the second piece, which is the waterfront property, which is the old landfill, we've been asking for that for the last, I want to say, starting in the 80s, and we asked again in the 90s, and now we're in the 2000s, and we've been told repeatedly that that land will come over to the district, but it has not yet. And there's been several issues that the county has dealt with. So we're waiting on that. And that was the two things that we're working on.
Don, before we discuss that, when we come back to discuss that land on the river, you know, with the methane wells and so on the river, I'd want to have that information. I know that the county is paying a certain amount of money to check those wells, probably 4 times a year by law. And, you know, what we're looking at as far as the district costs and being able to maintain or go on that property, have the public owned property. So, you know, I'm sure that we could get a letter from DEQ as well as something that from the county concerning, you know, what they've been having to do as far as their due diligence on that property. So we know what we're getting into. And on the flip side of that, you know, it's a beautiful piece of property overlooking the river. I'm just not sure what you can do on it. I know you can't build on it because of what's there, but it would be good for our board to know all that we could and couldn't do on that property also. So thanks.
Just remember, this is not the first landfill in Newburgh. Ewing Young Park was part of a landfill. That was donated or given to us, and we accepted that. When we accepted it, we had to do the testing, just as the county is doing now. We did that. We just did it ourselves rather than pay. But it was mainly going to the streams and taking water samples and doing those type things, which the river is there, so there's various things. Plus, it's gotten more complicated because of the methane, but they have wells that they test as well. But we're familiar with that. Before I'd recommend that you accept that property, I would recommend that we go. We preliminary met with the EPA and the Oregon DEQ, and we've asked them certain questions about the property. There's no question that anytime you have a landfill, there's risk involved with the property. As long as you don't dig, you can add land. Most people don't know that all the dirt that's been added back when Mace was over that for the county, we got the contractors in Newburgh to agree to haul all their excess dirt out there. They loved it because they didn't have so far to haul it. We actually have covered that land. EPA and DEQ was thrilled with that. We can do that even more if necessary. Going way back, we wanted to build trails on that land. The county said, no, you can't do it because they won't let you. So we went to them. They said, Don, there's no reason you can't, but you can't dig. In other words, you can add trails and those type things. But we went back to the county, but for whatever reason, they were hard-headed and they said, no, we're not going to do it. So we asked for the land again so that we could get it accomplished. I'm saying they're hard-headed. I'm saying that they may have had reasons that I'm unfamiliar with, but I don't know what those reasons were. So going back to Lewis and George, when they were on there, they agreed then that they would turn it over. The reason they said they would not do it right then was because there was the Newburgh Dundee bypass that was going through. Once land as you well know, with the golf course, once parkland, roads can't go through it. They can't condemn it. ODOT was very upset, so ODOT didn't want us to own it until after they completed the bypass. So again, we've waited. So to make a long story short, we're still out there asking, and we're still trying to get that. My understanding of the law, and I don't know the law, but my understanding is that we will take a risk when we get that. But the law says the risk doesn't go on the original owner, because if we go out there and do something stupid and start digging and expose something, then we're at fault and we'll have to pay for it big time. But we wouldn't do that without checking with DEQ and EPA. So that's where we're at right now. As far as something that was already there, then the courts go back and charge whoever it was over the period of time, is my understanding. So we wouldn't have that large of a responsibility. Of course, the original owners are probably not even around or in business. So, but that's how the most courts systems, as I understand it, has worked across the country, from all across every state. And Oregon is no different. So we'll just have to wait and see what comes out of it.
From DEQ, can you also, if you're going to be asking questions, just kind of what kind of activities can currently happen on there, and then, what has to happen in order? Because my understanding, we've had this conversation while I've been on the board a number of different times, and it sounded like one of the things that people really were interested in seeing there are fields for the kids, because there's just not enough of them, which seems like it would be a great space to do that. But depending on the contamination of the soil, or whatever you have to do to make sure that it's safe for kids to run around, eat dirt, whatever it is, because they do. I just want to know what we can do with the land if in its condition now, and what we would have to do to improve it, to determine whether or not it's
We looked at it before the Rennie site. We looked at it as a possibility for a future site for soccer. We didn't go there. The reason for that is it's probably 30 years away before that land will be able to be graded and done. So we didn't want to go there. We decided, we looked at the property out where we're going to build the campground. We thought maybe that could be a site, and we wound up going to Rennie. So to answer your question, no, we cannot go out there and do grading work and those type things. It won't work. Grading is moving of dirt and piling it up, and we wouldn't do that. What that waterfront park is what we would like to see out there is just trails for biking, walking, those type things. Only biking and walking. There'll be no equestrian trails there. Probably access to the river as well. We'll probably have some type of small fishing area for people as well, depending on what the Marine Board wants to do. That is the long term. We'll probably have small shelters out there for family picnics and those type things, if there's enough parking, and that'll probably be it. But no, what I would term active sports fields or nothing like that.
Well, it sounds like we're on a wait and see. Hopefully we receive something from the Board of Commissioners before our next meeting. And so we'll discuss
Right,
further.
and I'm assuming the board is wanting to move ahead on this. That's my assumption.
Don, did you send this to the Board of Commissioners? Did you send it to Huber? Or who did you send it to?
I think we sent it to the Board of Commissioners, if I remember correctly.
Don, I will reach out either tomorrow or first of next week and see if we can't speed this along.
I believe that, I know that I did. I put the letter in your board packet.
Yeah, it was in there.
Yeah.
And I confirmed they received it, so.
Yeah, I
Alright.
I'd just like to sooner than later say yay or nay. You know, let's move on, and because we've talked about this for 2 years or whatever. If they're willing to do it, great. If not, great. At least we know and move on.
Yep. Okay. Okay, looks like kind of a different order for our meeting. The reports and comments from board members is next. So I'll go ahead and start with you, Lisa, and then we'll just go down the line here.
For the cultural center, the construction is moving along. I think they are anticipating that the theater will be completed by July or August. And it appears that it's on time and on budget, so that's good. That's all I got for now, thanks.
Nothing for you? Nothing for me?
Yeah, a while back, Kat sent out some information to the board about a survey that was done in the city of McMinnville on the recreation department. And so I took a look at that survey and read through it, and a lot of the stuff that we're dealing with as far as what people want in recreation is exactly what they want over there. And you can go online and see the survey with the city of McMinnville. But something that stuck out to me, and has always been something that I felt that we should have kept going, and we stopped doing it because of the internet, was being able to provide to the public outside of the internet brochures to the general public on what we do. I can still go around Newburgh and say, do you know who the Chehalis Park and Recreation District is and what they do? And a lot of people just say, no, I don't know. And so I think that it's time that we look back. I know I talked to Don, and he mentioned that there might be some money in this next year's budget to put out a new brochure. So to give you an idea, and the reason I'm talking about this, because people say, well, it's on the website, it's all electronic, and I get that. But when they did their community survey and they asked, how do you hear about our programs? And you can see this on their survey. It said that the mailed program guide that they send out, 25.9% of the people know what's going on at Park and Rec because of that guide. From the website, 13.5, and word of mouth, 12.9. So there is an interest in doing that. So, this is the brochure that's mailed out to the people in McMinnville. And then this is the brochure. I just stopped by because my sister lives down the beach, so I stopped by Lincoln City. And this is the brochure they put out. I remember when I worked on the staff 100 years ago, that I would go down to the graphic and put it together with the graphic, and Don remembers this, and we would send out the brochure. So I was putting together the brochure back in the day. Yes, it will take more staff time, but we are here to serve the taxpayers and inform them on what we want, what we do. And so it's important to me to be able to go out there and advertise what this board has done, what our programs are doing, and so on and so forth. So I'd like to see this mailed out at least twice a year to the public to let them know what we're doing. Now, some people say, well, that's a waste of money and so on and so forth. Well, we're here to inform the public and provide them with information. And I think this is a good way to do it versus just leaving it at our centers. And there are some folks that do that. They print these brochures up, they leave them at their centers for people to pick up. But after looking at what McMinnville, the folks there said, and seeing those numbers, I go, well, we need to do this again to let them know we're here to serve them and what we do. That's just my opinion. We'll see if there's something in the budget we can do about that.
Did they say anything about what the cost was for them to do that?
I didn't see that in the survey. We can certainly call them and find out. I mean, it's not going to be.
It's not going to be that
It's not going to
much.
be inexpensive. I mean, when you mail out something, it's not going to be inexpensive. And the post office may not do their due diligence sometimes in getting things out like they should. We just have to make sure they do. So this has always been something that I'd like to see return to the district.
You know, I agree, and when I attended a few of the early Heritage Trails meetings, I actually suggested that we do some kind of a mailer where we tell the citizens of Dundee and Newburgh what are all the activities we have to offer, and tell them how hard they are, and how, or whether they're hard or easy, and the locations of all these different facilities that we have, so that people can take advantage of what they've been paying for all these years. So, but one thing I want to say in regards to what we've heard about the golf club committee and this new clubhouse, I know that this board, it is our intention to build a clubhouse. Timing is everything, and I know that we've had interest in doing an RFP or designing something, but I think before we can even do that, we have to figure out what the heck we want. What does the public want? Because we can't send out an RFP if we don't even know what we're going to be building. We don't know what is wanted. I know what I have envisioned, but I don't know what the rest of the board wants to do, and I don't know what our taxpayer base wants to do. So I think that we're going to have to find out what does everybody want to do prior to doing any kind of a motion to put together an RFP.
So this is not the first time that this has come up before the board since I've been on it. And some in past boards, there were board members, there were big golfers on the board, and were very interested in this, and instead went and had staff go and look at kind of what the feasibility of it is, and what, is it are we in the business of running a restaurant? I don't think so, but more, how is it something that's going to cover its own costs? And if you go out and you look, it really has a difficult time doing that. And that's why it really hasn't moved forward. When Steve and the golf committee came on and started it up this most recent round, his position at that time, and you can go back and look, was that they were going to raise all the money for this clubhouse. And the only thing that they were able to do so far that I'm aware of, and I may be wrong, was to institute that $5 surcharge. I do think that it's incumbent on us to do something with that money for that purpose, right?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe doing some kind of a study would be fine, but we have to do a study and really find the impact of what it would do, and then what else gets put aside for that. Because we do Parks and Rec, and there's a lot of people that come to these meetings all the time looking for pickleball facilities, for mountain bike opportunities, all of these different things. And we haven't addressed any of those yet either. So I think that when we're looking at it, we have to be looking at it as a whole, right? I mean, because building a clubhouse is going to be super expensive. And how many of our, maybe everybody in the entire community will go, and that's what they've been waiting for. That's fine. But I just don't think we have enough. We don't have any kind of information other than what has been found previously that was not encouraging, but that doesn't mean we can't look again. But we really are going to have to be aware of what those costs are, and whatever else we can find out about where it stacks up amongst other people who haven't gotten any of the services that they've been looking for from us so far. So
what I would say,
and we shouldn't probably, and I'm really probably inappropriately talking about this right now because it is not an agenda item topic, and I'm apologize.
Yeah, and that's just so we don't degrade into a full-blown discussion.
Right.
That's why I wanted to put it as a specific item
Yeah.
in April.
Yeah.
And also, per our prior discussion, so this isn't my opinion, but when we did the visioning session where we prioritized projects, we did discuss the debt service that we had on the current golf course and some of the other refinance debt service, how much that was, how much debt we may have to take out for a new clubhouse and or Third Nine if we were to couple the projects together. So we did have these discussions. It was in a bit of a different format because it wasn't in a normal meeting. But I think we need to, at this budget, we're going to see these things. We're going to see what our debt service is, when the debt's paid off. These are the kinds of things I think we need to really focus on during our budget committee meetings that are going to be in just a couple weeks here. And then we'll take that with us to this next meeting in April, and we'll have it on the agenda and we can have this full discussion. I think it's just, we can't have a back and forth discussion during public comment or, arguing with each other. We have to have the information, prepare, get what we need in the packet, get what we need from staff, and then go into the meeting with the plan to address it. So that's what I want to do in April. So I'll go back to you.
Yeah. So I would like to invite our golf club committee members, even if they don't exist. Anybody who's interested in building a golf club, a new clubhouse, excuse me. If you're interested in building one, I'd like to know what it is that you're looking for. So I hope they come here with some kind of a list, and so we have something to work off of. So this isn't going to happen right away, but at least we can get the process started where we can look at it. We are going to have to pay off some debt before we can spend money on any other new projects. But and then we're going to have to find out whether Newburgh, Dundee want to pay for something like this. And I think it has to be something that, this is just my opinion, I think that this new clubhouse has to be something that somebody that is not a golfer is going to be able to get some use out of. So, and the other thing that I would say about makes this clubhouse different is we would be building it for a facility that is actually bringing in revenue and is employing people. So that is, I believe, a major difference. So.
Anything else for you?
I do have a question. There was some talk about the school in Dundee being for sale. I mean, obviously, if we don't have money to build a golf clubhouse, we probably don't have the money to buy a school. But there was some word about all that that's come up here recently.
Again?
Yes.
I do know that the school ground is up for sale. As a matter of fact, I was told by the superintendent that they're looking at selling the park property as well, which is something that was, as he has repeatedly said, that was not going to be sold. So I don't know what's going on. All we can do is wait and find out. We were interested in the building, as the board is aware, but we knew that we could not get that building without the county funds, the ARPA funds. We went after those. We did not get the ARPA funds, so we backed out. So that's where it stands currently. So,
And just since you brought it up, to clarify, the Billick Park, the park that is connected to or adjacent to the elementary school, it has to remain a park based on zoning
conservation.
and the federal grant rules where the strings were attached for the development of the park early on.
well, it doesn't have to remain a park, but if it's not a park, then the money has to be paid back. And the school district knew that and agreed to that when we leased that property and when we did that. If you look at Billick Park as it stands today, we basically lease from the school building over. There's 2 parking lots. One went with the school, the other parking lot went with the the park. It goes all the way up past City Hall. Billick donated the land to the half of that land. The city owned the other half. I mean, the school district owned half of the land. Billick donated half of the land to us. When he donated it, his comment was, and it's in the meeting when he donated it to the foundation, was that you may never sell that land. If you sell that land, all the funds from the sale has to go to the cemetery. It also said in the deal that at some point we would give 1 acre if the Dundee requested it to build a city hall, which they did. We gave the acre and they built the Dundee City Hall. And my understanding, they cannot sell that land. If they do, then it goes to the cemetery.
Oh, their portion of the
That's
parkland?
correct. Again, lawyers deal with that all the time. I'm just going by my understanding and what was given originally and what the desire was for billing. And it's in writing, and it was put that forth. So that's where it stands today.
So they can sell it, but it has to remain a park, and the money may go to a cemetery.
Well, that's only our part. We wouldn't sell that.
Right.
But the school district property, can they sell it? They own it, but it's on park. What I've been told over the years, and Casey was there with me, the city of Dundee said they'd never rezone it. So what are you going to do, buy it for a park? So
Well, with that all said, I don't see the citizens of Dundee saying, "Oh, well, yeah, there goes our walking path and our ball fields." So I think right now we just wait and see. I think it's.
well,
I think
that's
the school district's got some challenges ahead on the sale of that property, and hopefully
Well-
it works out for them.
the board members have been with me when we met with the superintendent, and he said that that would remain a park and would not be sold. We've heard it. But again, what is said and what is done sometimes is two different things. And we'll just have to work through it. I believe that this board wants to do what is in the best interest of the citizens. I believe the school board wants to do what is in the best interest of the citizen. And I believe we can get together and form that opinion, and everything will work out.
Okay. Well, let's move on to old business. Pickleball already shared their information. Is there a Trails Committee update?
It's in the,
Just the written version, so
Yeah.
no presentation. Okay. And then anything on the paddle launch?
I have called and called. Jim, if you can get a hold of her,
Okay.
do it. I've done everything I know.
Okay.
I've never gotten a return call. I'll keep trying. I'm not giving up. I'll keep trying.
Okay. Okay, Don, you're up with the superintendent's report.
I'm going to start off with the brochure. We did put in the budget, because some of the board members have talked to me, and their comments were they would like for the citizens to know what we're doing and how we're doing it. So I asked Kat to go out and look and to get the figures together. We do have a page that we'll send out to every resident in the district. And that increase, to do that with the mailing and with the everything that it takes runs about $55,000.
For one page,
That's correct.
that's mailed out to all the constituencies. So if I was to mail something out in a brochure, in a flyer, for one page, it would cost me $55,000.
That sounds like way too much money. Yeah.
Is that what you're saying, Don?
That's what I'm saying.
I think
And
it's
I
closer to
said the
15.
same identical thing, but Kat did the research and did the homework.
Is it not as effective to, I mean, obviously it's not as effective to not mail it, but just to have this brochure in strategic places around town?
We have done that in the past. Let me say this. I understand why it's a concern, but the question is, do we have a higher participation than the people that put these brochures out? If they had such a higher participation, then we're doing something wrong. We should be following it. I think you'll find our participation rate is much higher than theirs. So what are we doing right? Again, the facts speak. It's easy to say, and it's easy to do.
No, Don, where are we getting the facts
I-
on the participation rates, though? I'm not following you there. Does that mean that these entities that send these out are not getting as good a participation rate as us? And those facts are coming from where?
That comes, all you got to do is go look at their budget. What is their participation?
Okay.
Look at what they bring in compared to us. It's not even close. Now, I'm not saying that we shouldn't do it. That's not my point. My point is we're doing something right. I don't want to abandon that for this.
I don't think anybody was asking you to abandon
Right.
anything you're doing now. It was just as an added because
Exactly.
from Jim's
And
research that there's
the
more-
added, how much will it cost? And we can get those figures. And what will be the result of that cost?
How much
That's
is the
it.
shipping portion? How much is the mailing portion of that?
I have them written estimates, I could go grab them, but I don't have.
And are we
them.
talking about a trifold? Are we talking about a full-on brochure? What are we talking about
So
exactly?
we looked at costs for both of one flat sheet, 8.5 by 11 both sides, and also for the minimum size of a booklet, which would be four sheets, 8 pages printed both sides. So we gathered for both of those, and again, I don't have that in my head, but I could go and quickly get the estimates and run them off for you if you'd like to see them.
So is this is the printing cost, and this is the,
There's printing, and there's preparing for mailing, and then there's, and incidentally, we use a local printer who works with us to get the cost as low as possible in ways like using their bulk rate permit rather than ours, because even though ours is one of the lower ones, theirs is lower. So we are actually getting some breaks in the estimates that they've given us. We use longtime partners.
And the 55,000 was a quote for just a single page. Is that?
I'll leave that to Don because he remembers figures. But
Well-
I do, I know what I gathered the estimates for.
I know Kat gave it to me, and I asked her to give me that figure so I could put it in the budget. And if I remember correctly, and I'm sure I do, I increased that portion of the budget $50-something thousand
Okay.
because of the figures that she gave me.
Okay.
So that was the reason I did that.
can you
But-
tell me how many pieces are we talking about? What is the quantity here?
Yeah.
Rough
Well, for the
guesstimate.
full district, I think at this point I should go and grab estimates with your,
Well, the only thing I maybe you could bring it back to us, or we could look at it at the budget meeting. But my query on this is that I know that when we did these brochures before, we used a company that does these brochures. I'm not sure the company that does our small brochures, which are very nice and they do a good job, do these big type of brochures on a regular basis. Whereas we went, as I recall, Don.
No, when we did those brochures, we never mailed them. We never mailed one brochure. We took the brochures out and we distributed them through
Well,
the
I remember
community.
running them to each town, Don. I remember that factually because I was the one that had to take them to the different banks and communities and stuff. back in the
Right.
day.
We took them out, but we didn't mail them.
I'll have to look back on that.
You have to remember, there's
I don't really want to argue about it,
approximately
I'm-
15,000 households in our district.
and that's fine.
Actually, there's 17,000
But I
or
want
something,
them to know
if I remember correctly.
who we are,
And that
what
may
we're
be-
doing, and what we're offering. And so, I'm not saying that we're doing a bad job right now. I'm just looking at a different way to do things.
Okay. Well, let's wrap that up. And
Anyway-
if you do have those quotes, if you want to just shoot them out to the whole board,
sure,
if it's something that's easy to attach in
yeah,
email,
absolutely.
then we can take a look and, that'll answer probably all the rest of the questions we have on that.
I would be glad to do that.
We'll be having the budget, and the budget will be done. One of the difficulties that we're facing, tonight you heard that we have a $13,000 slush fund.
13
wish-
million.
Yeah, I wish we did. It would be nice. We do have an ending balance, a large ending balance. We've had it. Why did we do that? Well, because like with this bridge project, it's going to be roughly $4 million. We'll get back from the state of Oregon 1.8 million. So we'll put in 2.1 million. But, here's the but. We cannot get the money from the state of Oregon until we spend it. So, even with the grant that Jim does, you can't get the money back until you spend it.
Right.
So if you don't have the money up front, how do you do these grants? So over the years, we've worked very hard to make sure that we have funds that we don't have to borrow the money. Because if you borrow the money, you paid huge interest, even for short-term loans. So we've tried to prepare for the long term. And like with this budget, if we didn't have that extra $1.2 million, we could do some of these projects pretty easy, correct? But we can't do them because we got to get this project done. And where's that $1.2 million coming from? So my point is, when you budget out, it seems like there's a lot of money there, but it's not.
Is the school district, I don't mean to interrupt on, Casey probably answer this better, is the school district funds that they have for the Rennie Field, are we going to be able to ask for that prior to, or do we have to wait until it's
No.
built? Because I know the state does it, like Don's saying, is the school doing the same way?
We asked that question. We asked that question early on. They'll give it to us up front.
Okay.
So that's a good part. The other thing is the promise. I don't believe that golf course would have been there if I had not have been here.
Can you speak up, Don? I can't hear you.
I don't believe that golf course would have been here if I was not here. I worked extremely difficult in circumstances by which to get that golf course. We went to the community the community said, no, we will not give you the money for the golf course. We don't think the golf course should be built.
I can back Don up on these things because I was here.
And why is the golf course here? Because we set out to do feasibility studies, and we set a plan of action by which we could raise the revenue and get that done, whereby we could pay for it over the long term. And it was very, very difficult. But let me clarify one thing. We asked the community, would they give us the money, and they said no. But we turned around and we asked the community, do you want a golf course? Yes. Yes, we want one, but we don't want to have to pay for it. So how do you solve that? When we did the golf course, we went out, we checked with tons of people and communities that built golf course all across the country. What was interesting, the one thing they told me was, don't build a clubhouse. It'll drain you. You won't be able to pay for it. They had the facts and the figures that backed it up. We said, well, how do you operate? Well, we went out. I didn't think they operated out of trailers. I didn't think a trailer was suitable. So we went to a company out of Staten, and we got what we have now, which I thought would serve us for about 20 years. And it's getting close to that now. But the idea is that we wanted. The other thing was, you talk about promises. Some of the staff was here when they came in and talked about the golf course. They promised that they would do certain things. I don't think they've ever done anything. Am I correct, Casey?
Can you clarify when you say they promised?
Yes, the group promised that they would provide, they'd do bunkers, they would do all this voluntary work. Have you seen anything done?
No.
And we're talking about, they're saying that I promised. I want a clubhouse. I'd give anything to get a clubhouse. But how to pay for it? Somebody's got to pay for it.
Don,
I want a clubhouse.
question for you real quick since you're
Sure.
on the subject, and I might want to hold this for later, but as I recall, because we didn't build the course with taxpayers' money at that time, we had to go to financial institution and show them that it was a feasible
That's correct.
revenue generating operation to be able to cover expenses. And if we didn't, this district had enough assets for them to act on if it failed. Is that right?
That's correct. And part of the deal was the land. If you notice, we have land for the third nine. Why didn't we develop the third nine at the same time? Because we kept that land in abeyance. I'm not a genius, don't claim to be. What happened if my figures and my plan was wrong? I could always sell that land and have enough money to pay that off. I knew that. So that was my fiduciary responsibility to the community, to not put them in a situation that I could not get them out of. And we tried very hard not to do that. So we kept that as abeyance. And that property is there. Do I want to sell it? No, I never have. I don't want to sell any parkland. But that's the way that we got it. And we have the same people that financed the first 18 came to me couple of years ago and said, Don, when you get ready to finance the backside, we'll be there for you. And I said, thank you. Most of those investors are out of Lake Oswego and other places around the Portland area. It's what you do to establish relationships and to get that. They believed in us and they believed in the project. They thought it would work, and it has worked. Think of what this community would be like without the golf course. And the people that live in the greens, I'll never forget, the community didn't want the greens built. I fought to build those greens and to get that deal. Now, here's what's interesting. They're wanting to build a development above them, and they're fighting that development being built. And I'm saying, the people said the same thing about your development that you're saying about this development. It's factual. It can be researched and looked at. And I'm sitting there just scratching my head. It's perfectly okay. People have a right to their opinions, and I respect that. But we have a fiduciary responsibility to the community. Now, the clubhouse. Mary Miller would not object if I use her name, because I asked Mary Miller, who is looking to build restaurants in Newburgh? Do you have clients? I've checked with other clients. I said, Mary told me, get me a perspective, a business perspective, and I'll share it with those people. If they will make a commitment, we can get that done at no cost to the citizens if we're able to work it out. There'll be some cost to us, but not like, I don't think we ought to subsidize a restaurant and those type things. But if we can work that out, and what will it take? It'll take about another year to get all that information, put the thing together, put the business plan, get everything ready to go. And as the board is aware, we can't do anything this year anyway. We knew that, months ago when we discussed it. So will we have it ready? Yes, we'll have it ready when the time comes. Anyway, that's my report.
Okay, staff reports. We'll start with Brian and then just move that way.
You want to go Casey first?
We like to pick on Casey last for sure.
Yeah, Casey's last, yeah.
My report's in there. Just some highlights. We're happy to see that the trusses are on the community center, and the roof will be on there next week, and we have some good weather for that, and the ceiling installation, so that project is going to get butt down there. So we're all happy about that.
That's great.
Some other things we're working on is pickleball mentioned about the things they have coming up starting in April, and tennis players appreciate it too. Those courts are been power washed this week, and they're cleaned up and ready to go. Little minor aesthetics that we are paying attention to the golf course. Of course we are. That new vanities have been put in the restrooms there, and we'll finish.
Did you? I appreciate that.
We'll finish off the tile work here next week also, and that put a nice new face on there with the new carpet, new awnings, new vanities, the kitchen revamped, and we budgeted we're going to paint that this summer too, probably. So that's good stuff. Ball field prep is happening big time. A lot of programming going there. We have tournaments starting this weekend on all the ball fields, so staff's been really busy there. Despite this funky Oregon weather here, the grass is growing, as you all know, in your yards, and so we're rocking and rolling, starting to mow, and this young man can attest to that. And what else we got going on? Pool's up and running as usual, and been doing some major repairs over there, but some needed stuff that had to happen. And staff doing a great job over there also. That's all I have really, but that's all I have. Yes, sir.
So Brian, are the walkways all finished now in Jakewith Park?
The final thing on Jakewith is, remember we got cut off with the weather there. They will come back and do the final crack seal.
Okay.
And that is in the budget to make that happen here as soon as we get a break in the weather.
Okay.
And it could be as soon as April or May or whatever. That's a quick thing. Then ideally we can roll on to do a few other parks that we're looking to do. Memorial is next, but we'll see, like Don said, budget. But, and then of course the budget. We spent a lot of time the past couple months putting that together. Thanks.
How about the golf course?
We just completed the spring aerification. Greens are coming back, gotten a lot of good compliments. We're looking forward to having a real good golf year. We got our probably our first local tournament in May. Getting all geared up.
You guys ready for a busy weekend?
When the sun comes.
Yeah, that tee sheet's full already.
Okay, Casey.
We engaged the architects, engineers for Sanders Park. So we had a meeting with the city of Dundee and their engineers, got some requirements that they want for 5th Street. We're actively promoting a community public meeting in Dundee on the 11th of April. That was, I requested that from Steve, the manager, and he was accommodating, let us use the fire hall in Dundee for that. And then also again, we're going to speak with the city council on April 16th about some type of cost sharing for that 5th Street development. They have some water lines in the street. PG is potentially going to ask to hook those customers up on the opposite side of the street because there's no power over there other than what's on the poles. So there are, and then Steve made some comments about they wanted to pave the whole road, not just half the road. So there's some back and forth going on that. Yes, Jim.
The consultant that we hire, the engineers that we hire, they understand the codes that we, as a park district, are required, not above and beyond that. I just want to make sure that we aren't required to do something above and beyond
right
what code.
We stopped with our engineering in the middle of the road. So
right.
If the city wants to go further than that, they're going to have to ask or get their engineer to work on it.
Right. I just want to make sure we're just doing our
portion.
Everybody wants more sometimes. It happened with the pool too. They always wanted more, and I had to back off sometimes because we couldn't afford to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So
when do we have a date where we're expecting to break ground on phase 1 of Sanders, or is there just too much?
I can't remember offhand. They gave me a schedule, but it's kind of determined by the type 1 and the other permitting they have to get.
Okay.
I mean, they've been working on 9th Street there for 8 months, and they assumed it was a 3-month project. So it just depends. So,
but can we go ahead and begin grading of the park land without the street being built? I mean, it's not going to be it can't be used.
That's not a question I asked yet, but they're working on the final grading plan.
Okay.
And I've already asked Russ if he could do that.
Right.
And I've let Lango Hansen know that, and that could be a huge cost savings to us.
Yeah, I'm just saying we can get some boots on the ground earlier than later by doing that grading part possibly in-house. Would be a good thing for the public to see.
Yeah, but we got to get a 1200C permit.
No, I get
we
that.
got some erosion control to do, and
I get
so
that too.
Yeah, so we're working towards that. Crabtree Park, we've talked about that a little bit. Aquatic and Fitness Center, we have a forensic engineer on board. He's reviewing some documents, and we'll go from there. Steve has asked me if we're ready for them to balance the pool or the hydronic system up there, and I'm tempted to say yes, because I don't think it's gonna work. And I guess that'll just,
Why would they ask us if we're ready? Wouldn't they say, hey,
you know,
we're
the
ready?
balancing from the final system, when they put the extra pumps up there, they have to balance that out. Everything else is done, it's just that one extra portion. So when they first came out, they had some problems and couldn't balance the system. Oh, and we had 2 compressors that were failed that we had to replace. So
When do we expect to get that report from the forensic engineer?
I would say in a month or so.
Okay.
It'll be in your April or May.
Okay.
Cultural Center. Lisa gave a good report on that. They've got all the demo complete. They're working on construction. Today they were putting in some structural beams on the bottom floor. They're doing in where the bathrooms are, and then they'll go back into the offices. There was quite a delay in that because of how much infrastructure they found within between the floors and where the beam was supposed to go. So it went back and forth whether they were going to move all the infrastructure, or we finally decided to put the beams recessed in the ceiling and just paint them, because I don't think they'll be noticeable where they are. So that's done. Newburgh Dundee development, as Dawn mentioned, it's 90%. We got an estimate back for $4 million for construction of that. So we all kind of went, oh. And so we went to actually ask some wooden bridge manufacturing companies what their estimate would be on a 560-foot crossing. And it was equal to, or possibly a little bit more, even using the pile design that we had proposed for the bridge, and it was basically building like 4 separate wooden bridges across. So the cost on that was comparable to, maybe a little bit less, but comparable, but the long-term maintenance costs on a wooden bridge would be far outweigh the actual costs to develop that bridge.
So this is the Newburgh Dundee bypass bridge?
Correct.
Right? Okay. And $4 million, and our original estimate was somewhere in the
2.6.
Okay.
Is that because of concrete?
2.6. Concrete is one of them. We were kind of surprised to see the wooden bridge come back as high as it was, because typically that's a lot lower. We looked at steel, that was higher. So we decided to go with a concrete girder. And yeah, there's a company in Oregon that bought up pretty much all the cement plants and concrete suppliers.
And this is just a standard footbridge, right? It's how wide?
It's 10 feet. You can drive a vehicle across it. That's kind of ODOT standard. And it's got rails and lights, and there's everything that ODOT requires on a pathway.
So anything less than that we wouldn't be qualifying for the grants or whatever.
Right. It has to be ADA.
Okay.
We've already put in how much in engineering and
493,000, I think. Somewhere in there. So that trail right now, if we get the bridge done and up to 11th, we'll go to River Street from Providence. I had a talk with Alan Thompson from ODOT, the grants coordinator or manager, I guess. He suggested we do the rail crossing. By doing the rail crossing doesn't really help us out, because it doesn't take the trail anywhere. It's divided. So I spoke to him a little bit about that. He wants to have a meeting on Tuesday, and so we're gonna talk to him again on Tuesday. They know this. We're not the only project that's coming in over budget. and they want to hear from us. They want to know what they can do for us. Like, as Jim's mentioned in the past, it's one of the requirements that ODOT provide an alternate means of transportation besides just vehicular. There's a multimodal requirement for ODOT.
State law.
State law. And, you know, if they had to design the bridges that they did when they did the bypass to accommodate pedestrians alongside, and we would just be responsible for tying all that stuff together, that would have been a different story. But, you know, the next bridge we have to build, and we don't know what's going on with the railroad. We don't know what the developer is doing down there. The city's got some ideas down there, and the next bridge is 970 feet. If this one's 4 million, I can guarantee it's going to be a lot of money. So,
And how many bridges total are in this plan?
well, including this one, I think there's 3 more and 1 more boardwalk before we get to Dundee. In Dundee, the school district's putting in the green seam trail right now along the ODOT's right of way on the outside of the school. That was a requirement by the city of Dundee.
And a lot of this is because it's within that ODOT easement.
It's within the ODOT right of way, yeah. So,
The way to look at this too is, what if we had to buy that easement? We couldn't afford to do it. So, working with ODOT is kind of nice, because otherwise we couldn't afford to do it.
I don't know that we can afford to do it as it is.
Well,
That's outrageous.
I would agree with that, but fortunately, we've had to go back, and you'll hear about it when we go through the budget committee. We just have to set stuff back. I hate to say that, but there's no other way to do it.
I'd like to see if we can push to see if we can get more ODOT funding for this. I mean, I would think that they would, I mean, I'm not in those meetings, I'm not sure what you're discussing, but I'd like to see the district.
if you want to
push-
sit in, it's 10 o'clock on Tuesday morning.
Yeah, I'd like to see the district push back.
It's Alan Thompson. He's the Community Pass Program Manager, and I've been on the phone with him a few times over the past couple months. We're trying to go over our budgets with the contractors and everyone. There's just only so much we can do. We had a meeting today, Brian and I, with the landscape and how to save some money on putting landscape down there, because that's one of the requirements. And so we're trying to do everything we can to save money, but it's still an expensive project.
We will get with Senator Wyden as well as Berkeley's crew, and we may get some help. We don't know yet, but they're usually pretty accommodating on this.
What else you got?
The Rennie Field conversion. So, like I said, the agreement's been signed. We're gonna get this grant applied for. I had to reach back out to AKS because this grant agreement's been taking so long, and I hope to hear from them in the next week or two. So we'll get back on that project. Pickleball, we're working on. We'll probably have to get an engineer involved and get some things drawn out, and go to a pre-app with the city, because there'll be some requirements from the city, and then start on that project. There is money in the budget for the pickleball facility. May not get covered this year, but we're gonna redo the tennis courts. That's the idea. Resurface and then add 6 pickleball courts.
I don't think phasing of that would be a bad idea.
It's
I think
not.
that just making sure that we have the room to be able to put on, you know, a pole building, whatever, in
Yeah.
the future. So I think that
That's one of the reasons I like the pole building so much. There's
really easy.
lots of different structures out there, but a lot of them require big footprint foundations, and pole buildings are basically pretty narrow. They fit well. So, and we can still put lighting in them, and we can still, you know, put roll down covers or whatever we decide we're going to do in them.
Yeah.
We're going to have to run power to that site
Power.
because I don't think we have it out there right now.
It's in the little shelter.
It's in the little shelter. No, there's power out of the restroom, but you would have to upsize the panel to 200 amp. I think it's
Yeah,
only
there's nothing
100
running
amp.
over the tennis courts right now.
Yeah. And the only other thing that I have is that we have a developer asking to do a conversion. I think we've touched on this before, at Friends Park. They have 3.5 acres down in the Hess Creek property that they want to trade us for 5,000 square feet out of the Friends Park, and we would have potential trail route down through the Hess Creek area, and it would tie in with the Heritage Trails plan for tying into Hoover Park.
We're going to do that. We've discussed it in prior meetings for a year.
It was a different person.
Yeah.
This is
So-
another new owner.
And this is just a land lot transfer.
Yeah, what they do is they go in and just redraw the line, so we're getting 5 or 6 acres for
3.5.
one lot,
Yeah.
50 by 100 lot or something.
And he
like
can't,
that.
from what I hear, because he's in the county, or his property, and his lot line adjustment's going to be in the county, so they're gonna pull that portion of the park in the county, and you know, it won't really, he doesn't think he can build on that, according to Ken Friday, because you can't put a house on a 5,000 square foot parcel.
But he knows all this, and he's willing to do it. And my way of thinking, that's a smart trade.
Are you guys gonna come to us with a map so we can see this before we do this lot line adjustment?
Yep, I have one. I can send it to you guys.
I think we've put it in prior meeting, but remember, this thing has changed as we go through. It keeps changing, but we'll send you the latest.
Aren't they going to have to put an entrance in front of those other homes? Do those other homeowners know that?
There's actually, he has an easement.
Yeah, I get that part.
Right.
He has an easement to get back to his property through those driveways.
The most you could build is one house there, Jim.
No, I know where it is. I just
Yeah.
don't know if those neighbors know that this is coming. So it's like, has nothing to do with us.
Yeah.
They do know because they called the city, and the city was down there with their inspector,
bet.
and the county came out with their inspector because they were building roads, and oh yeah, it's-
Correct.
Okay.
the neighbors do know. I think that's it for me.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go ahead and adjourn formally, and also announce that it is Director Field's birthday today, and we have, I believe,
He's too young to be on our board.
he's probably old enough now that it's his birthday. But I believe we have a cheesecake or
Yeah,
some.
we got a
so everyone's
cheesecake
invited
surprise.
to stick around.
We heard that was his favorite, so
Yeah.
54.
I'm hoping.
I'm old enough to be Matt's father.
No.
Yes.
But
You're
you
40,
gotta-
right?
You gotta eat.
I'm old enough to be his dad.
Okay. So everyone, stick around. Make fun of Jason. That's weird.